Bim! Guess what? It's a new week. Well, it's the end of a week. And it's time for what a week that was. Because it was a week that was. And it's over because it's the week that was, not the week that will be or the week that is. It is the week that was. So, yeah. Let's be honest. So, yeah, we're going to look at this week's news. Um, it's just looking at the world's news and seeing what's going on. It's been, I've had a very interesting day, hence I'm 10 minutes late. And you'll find out why I've had an interesting day when you see the next Wigan Watch, which I filmed today. And it's going to be getting on for an hour long. It's been an interesting day, but not the way you think it will be. Anyway, I digress. This is a look at the news alternative. We're going to cover American news and all the gun crime as usual, sadly, and all the stuff going on, or some of the stuff going on in Australia, New Zealand. But first we'll look at the news as reported in the United Kingdom of Great Britannia. So the first story we've got is actually reported by BBC News, and this is Canada's Trudeau announces Chinese election meddling probes. So it looks like there's a possibility. Oh, hello, Angela. Hope you're good. Looks like it's a possibility that it's not just the USA and the good old United Kingdom and various other countries that have been affected by meddling from China and possibly Russia as well. That doesn't say that there. But yeah, Canada as well. I mean, who'd be bothered to do it to Canada? That's what I want to know. And then we got this one here, which is American labour shortage is a rose with many thorns, says Reuters. Yeah, basically, this is what I don't understand about a lot of stuff going on with shortages of workers. There are more people on the planet than there's ever been before. There's less manufacturing than there's ever been before. So why is there more jobs than people still? I don't get it. Can you imagine if we were back in the Victorian ages? It'd be a nightmare. Well, we'll be able to do this for a start. Anyway, let's get on with the news proper. Hope you are well. I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I've just had some chilli, which was a bit hotter than I'd anticipated, but there you go. What can you do? So, the week began on Sunday with an ocean treaty. After 10 years of discussion, enough countries basically have agreed to look after the oceans of the planet. Plans to stop anyone illegally fishing and stuff like that. Basically, they're going to try and look after the oceans, which is good because the planet needs that kind of thing. I thought there were more people than jobs. Yeah, that's what I said, wasn't it? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit drunk. I went to the pub this afternoon. So this is not a normal what a week that was, but we're going for it anyway. You ain't going to stop me now. Unlike the boats, plans were announced to stop anyone arriving on small boats over the channel from claiming asylum. That's what was leaked anyway. We'd find out more on the Monday. And I reported last week that Unite were the only union who had not joined the talks with the government. Well, on Sunday they decided to join talks on the government and end the strikes, or at least suspend the strikes for the time being, and enter into talks, which was, to be honest, long overdue. At the same day, though, everything's going up. Rail fares are up by 5.9%, and it's the highest rise in years, apparently. I mean, I wouldn't know because I can't remember the last time I went on a train. I just know they are extortionate for what they are. So I don't use them. Anyway, that takes us very nicely to a Monday. Monday is a good day because the evil Met police officer, please like, share, subscribe, most enjoy the stream, yeah. Police Met officer Wayne Couzens was sentenced for indecent exposure at, well, twice McDonald's of all the places. And yeah, he's already serving a life sentence for rape and murder, but this latest incident was reported by McDonald's staff including the registration of the car. No one really looked into it though, and 2 days later, 3 days later, he ended up murdering the poor woman who is in prison for life for murdering. The Met actually apologised for not looking into it, but still, it's just horrendous to think that those things just don't get looked into. I mean, even a cursory glance of the registration plate, you type it in, and it would come up as a Met police officer's car, and you'd be like, whoa, hang on a minute. And then you'd definitely look into it. Anyway, yeah, Met police, gotta love them, said no one. Mind you, the Welsh police aren't much better. Tragic story here of 5 youngsters. I say youngsters, they were 20s, mid-20s, who disappeared mysteriously after a night out on a Friday. And their car was found days later. And you're thinking, well, it must have been in a ravine or, you know, hidden by something. No, it crashed into some trees next to a roundabout. And it was literally 15, 30 foot away from the actual road, but no one saw it. And sadly, out of the 5 who've gone missing, 3 of them have passed away, and the other 2 are in very serious condition indeed. So questions being asked about the police response for that. And it does seem to be a thing that we just keep criticising the police, and it shouldn't be like that. The police should be doing what they're paid to do. Anyway, government gets set to ban anyone who uses boats to come over the channel. There was 45,000 last year, and averaged out about 100 a day on good days coming over. Now, yeah, it's not an influx or everything, and I agree with what the government have said. What I don't agree with is why they're doing it. I agree 100%. We should stop people coming over on these boats. But the reason I want to stop them, obviously most of them are illegal immigrants anyway, but that's not the point. The reason I want to stop them is we've got to stop people risking their lives crossing the channel in something like that. It's ridiculous that people are prepared to do that. So what we need to do is, and I've said this for months, you can go all the way back through various vlogs and newspaper write-ups and stuff like that. What I've said all the way back is we need people who've got a genuine reason to get to the United Kingdom. They should be able to get processed near their own country, maybe not in their own country, but near their own country, and then safely flown over if they meet the criteria. And if they don't, then they've not risked their lives for no reason. What the government is saying is, if someone does travel over on a boat, they're going to take DNA samples, fingerprints, photographs and all that kind of thing. And these people will not be allowed, even through the right channels, to re-enter this country. And again, you're like, well, I can see where they're coming from, but it's very confusing. I agree, Elder, they are not refugees, they are economic migrants, mostly men, not women or children. Yeah, exactly. You know, when it first started, there were lots of babies and children and things like that. And we have got ways of getting people over who are legitimately entitled to. I mean, you know, the Ukrainians and people from war-torn countries we've allowed in. So there are legitimate ways to do it. And if you figure that this is the only way to do it, then there's something wrong somewhere. Whether it's wrong in your head thinking that's how you can get into the country, or it's wrong that the country, the UK, is not giving people who've got a genuine reason to be able to come to this country an opportunity to put their case forward in a safe place to come over. Yeah, exactly. France is a safe country, plus why are they fleeing Albania? Albania is a weird one. It is a safe country, yeah. I mean, there's nothing going on there. It's no worse than any other European country apart from Ukraine, and maybe a couple of other countries are a little bit nervous that border onto Russia. But there's got to be reasons for it. And when I voted for Brexit, no one has said a thing about the amount of money we have contributed to the Ukrainian war, the most of any European country. Yeah, our country is horrible. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a bit like statistics, isn't it? You can make statistics look if it's bad statistics, you can find something in it that makes it look good. I remember a light-hearted thing when Lando Norris and George Russell and Alex Albon, I think it was, they were all rookies in F1, and at the end of the season they did a why I was the best and all this kind of stuff. And you know, like Lando was like, well, I was the best because you know I got more points than you lot, and Russell was in a Williams, which was really bad at the time, so he was always at the back. But he's, you know, this is statistics, and he said, yeah, but I overtook more cars on the opening lap than you did for the season. And yeah, you can bend statistics any way you want. But what we've got to do is we've got to stop people risking their lives trying to cross the channel. Whether they've got a reason to or not, they're still risking their lives. And we need to find a better way to allow them, if they're allowed to come here, or reject them, you know, where it's safe to reject them, rather than going through all this, risking their lives, getting here, and then being rejected. In other countries, if other countries say no to immigrants, then why do we have to take immigrants? But if it's life-threatening, then yeah, but other reasons, no. Yeah, the thing is, when it's one of their own, they don't like it, you can't have it both ways. No, exactly. It is a difficult subject to talk about. Ask Gary Lineker. We're coming to him later, don't worry. And it is... There's no easy solution to it, but my solution will be literally send them back to France. Whether it's, you know, France want them or not, we send them back to France. If we send them back to France all the time and just dump them on the beach, France will get fed up with that, and they might fall out with us a little bit, but they'll certainly make more of a point of getting the illegal migrants away from the coast. Yeah, hands up, according to various sources that we've seen, the United Kingdom hasn't taken in anywhere near as many migrants as many other European countries. There are some European countries who took less, obviously. So we're not like, you know, the best or the worst. But we've got to make it safe for people. And, you know, I voted for Brexit, not because I wanted to stop this kind of thing, but I thought we get our laws back, which is great. You know, bending bananas and all. I mean, that was rubbish, but gives you an idea where we're coming from. But the other one was we can control our borders, and we don't seem to be doing that. We've got this full control of our borders, but we're not allowing in people who we want to allow in. So, like nurses and doctors who we desperately need, people who come in to pick the crops from the fields, because Brits won't do it because it's beneath them, but they'll come over and do it, stay here for a few months, and then go back to their country. They've been doing it for years, but we've stopped all that. And I'm like, no, it wasn't a case of just putting the shutters down. It gives us control to allow people in who we want to allow in, and not allow people in we don't want to allow in. Anyway, it's very, 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 very confusing, as we will find out shortly. Anyway, talking of confusing, why is he a thing? Dominic Raab has had a lot of his bullying accusations verified for work-related incidents. However, other people who've worked with him have said, yeah, he's passionate and he wants the job done, but he's not a bully. He just expects everyone to work as hard and as comprehensive as they do. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not Matt Hancock. I mean, but he's somewhere in the middle. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. Most of these men shall call their documents into the sea. We have no idea who they are. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly right. Not Dominic Raab. Sadly, we know who he is. He's Dominic Raab. I'm Dominic Raab. I'm Dominic Raab. I'm Dominic Raab. I'm Dominic Raab. Oh, Freudian slip. Oh dear, I feel bad now because I told you I'm a bit drunk still. Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Look, you can see it says it up there, Tuesday. News, not now. I'm not changing the actual days by typing in. Rishi has basically announced with a speech, this podium that says stop the boats, that anyone arriving illegally will be detained and deported swiftly. Now, you know, we've yet to see the swiftly thing. My hair's a right mess at the minute. It got blown all over the place earlier as well. Absolute night. I'm having a nightmare today, but never mind. I'm over it. he's saying the right things, but whether or not it actually happens, I don't know. Um, but yeah, something's got to be done about the boats. Uh, the tragedy I was talking about in Cardiff. These are the three young people who've lost their lives. Um, Details are still a bit sketchy of what actually happened. They met up in one town in Wales. They went to Cardiff, and then they went to another town. And then when they were driving back, I think no, they went to another town, then Cardiff. When they were driving back to where they met up, that's when they disappeared. It was reported to the police. Five people, no contact from anyone, and the police didn't do that much about it. And then eventually found the car a few days later, but sadly these three young lives had been taken. Don't know whether it would have made any difference if they'd been found earlier, but I'm pretty sure the two who have survived up to, as far as I'm aware, this point, are in very serious conditions in hospital. And I would imagine if they'd have been found earlier, they may well not be in such bad conditions. Anyway, on Tuesday there was a vigil held, and it was massive as well. I hope it's not all words from the government. Sadly, I think it is, and nothing will change. Yeah, that's what governments do. To be fair, the opposition are doing more than that than the government. But, you know, we'll come to them in a bit. Network rail strikes have been called off. Wow. Because they've got a new offer which they need to vote on. But RMT still going out on strike. But as I said on the news, the strikes won't be as bad. More tragic news. In Liverpool, the trial begins on the death of Olivia Pratt, the man who was charged with murdering her. I mean, some of the details we've got that have come out of court are horrendous, and I wouldn't repeat them. I think it's just awful what happens. And, you know, if it was that guy, then he deserves everything and more that he's going to get. What Scotland doesn't deserve is one of these three as their First Minister to replace Nicola Sturgeon. Because could you present MOTT tonight? You should give the BBC a call. You look the part. I've got my football shirt I wore earlier on. I'll be cheaper than Lineker, yeah, definitely. But no, the SNP, you've got these three people, none of whom are suitable to be the leader of a party. And it's scary that they're going to have the power that Nicola Sturgeon had. So if I was in Scotland now, I would be very, very concerned. And it would be interesting to see when one of them does, you know, take over, if when the general election comes next year or whenever, that the SNP does as well, because I don't think it will without Nicola Sturgeon. It's a bit like UKIP without Nigel Farage. It just kind of disappeared up its own nonsense. Oh, hang on. Right, here we go. Here we go. It's one you've been waiting for, folks. Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we had a tweet. Basically, Gary Lineker, famous footballer and football pundit, tweeted something about the new laws that they're bringing in, or trying to bring in, for the stop the bolts and all that kind of stuff. And he said something like, "This is awful," or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said. But he obviously had some reactions to what he'd written. And I dare say a lot of people said, "What are you on about? We need to stop this, blah, 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 blah." So he replied with this tweet. "There is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries, both of which are true to a degree. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 1930s. And am I out of order?" Well, so much to read into that. I mean, yes, 40-odd thousand a year is not a huge influx, but what we don't know is how many people may have died trying to do it, and that's what I worry about more than anything else. The immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people. The majority of people who come in to the UK legally last year were from Albania, as we've already said, and that is not a vulnerable country. So if it was people coming from Ukraine and doing it that way, you'd be like, oh my God, no, why don't we just send boats over and bring them over rather than coming over here? And then he says, language that is not dissimilar to that used by the Germany in the 1930s. Now, he's obviously referencing the Nazi propaganda and all that kind of stuff that come out in the 1930s before World War II, and then obviously during World War II as well. But he's not saying that what the government is recommending is actually like that. He's saying the language that's being used is basically not respectful towards these migrants, and it is similar in that way to the 1930s. So you've got this massive thing going on. I mean, you know, he's got the blue and yellow heart as well, which is obviously a reference to Ukraine. So you're thinking, is he right or is he wrong? And, you know, are people allowed to make a comment like that? I mean, yeah, it's Gary Lineker, but he's not. It's not like it's Fiona Bruce or Hugh Edwards or Clive Myrie or whoever does news at 10. I don't know. I don't watch ITV News. It's rubbish. It's all everything's sponsored by everyone. But yeah, it's one of them things that I think people are allowed to criticise and make opinions if it's not impacting them. But then the BBC are now saying, ah, yeah, but you'll find that you know, we have a clause in all the contracts that we have for all our employees that basically say you have to remain neutral on everything and make no comments assigning one way or the other. And you're like, okay then. Freedom of speech is the only thing they want to hear. He takes immigrants to his home. What's he going to do when they use all his money, and would he keep them if they robbed him? Yeah, again, I'm not saying that all the people coming over are bad people. I mean, at the end of the day, we've just been talking about that Met police officer who decently exposed himself and then later on raped and murdered a poor woman. So, and the guy who shot little Corbell. There are bad people everywhere, and we can't tar everyone with the same brush. The argument is, though, that a lot of these people coming in are not entitled to come in, and they have no desperate need to come in, and I think that's the problem. And I think Gary has completely misjudged what he wrote. And what really got me was the fact that he didn't apologise. He hasn't apologised. And then when he was interviewed yesterday, I think it was, he was walking around the back of his car and someone shouted to him, do you think you'll be suspended? And he went, no. Like, really smarmy. And I'm like, for that alone, you know, I think he should be suspended. But anyway, more of that later. Oh yeah, and the other thing is, obviously, he doesn't actually work solely for the BBC. He's freelance. So it kind of, again, you kind of blur in the borders. And you've got to think as well, let's go back to it. I'm talking about it. What happened with Jeremy Clarkson when he had a go at Meghan Markle? And, you know, there's been other people who've had a go at people and situations, and nothing's really happened to them. You know, I mean, one possible thing that you could say where something did happen to someone who did something allegedly bad was when Holly and Philip jumped the queue at the funeral. More so when David Beckham had queued up for hours with all the other people. Admitted it, he let himself then down when he went to Qatar to promote the World Cup. So again, double standards. But yeah, I mean, you know, it lost Philip some money. He lost his contract with We Buy Any Car, and now the whole country is absolutely fed up with that earworm of the song that they use now. I sold my car on We Buy Any Car. Bring back Phil. I mean, oh Jesus. They said nothing about Jeremy Clarkson, the teacher from Batley, and the lad who scuffed the Koran. Happy for them to be cancelled and scapegoated. As soon as it's one of their own, it's different. Yeah, it's again, I think it's one of them things where you can't do right for doing wrong, and that's sadly the way of the world at the moment. There is a new weight loss drug, and it's a game changer, and it's called Wegan, and it's 1 week injection. You do it for a couple of months. You inject it, and it makes your body feel like it's full. So therefore, you're not as hungry, so you don't eat as much, and you lose weight. But it's not a permanent thing, and they've said that when people stop using it, they put the weight back on again. So it ain't no golden bullet, but at least for a few months people can lose a bit of weight. But can you imagine if you're on it and then off it and on it and off it? You'd have to have 2 wardrobes. You know, wardrobe for when you're like chef, and then other times when you're like the Stig. I said the Stig because he's here. Look, Stig. There he is. Jeremy Clarkson tying as well. It's good that they're coming up with these things, but they probably need something that's a little bit more long term, rather than just injecting yourself for the rest of your life. They said they can't do that anyway, but we'll have to wait and see. Lineker's had the support of Alistair Campbell, one of the biggest beeps involved in politics. Yeah, but Alistair Campbell does a vlog or a blog on Gary Lineker's or within Gary Lineker's media company that Gary Lineker owns. So basically, Alistair Campbell, is just backing his boss at the end of the day. So I thought that was a randomly bad thing. The BBC have overreacted as per, if Gary doesn't win for the BBC, then all those who have threatened to quit over Lineker, let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Going back to more serious stuff, 3 more people have been arrested on the murder of Ellie Edwards, which was Christmas Eve on the Wirral. It just seems to be going on and on this, and her father has also doing a sponsored walk from Land's End to John O'Groats to raise awareness of gun crime and all that kind of thing. Now, gun crime in the United Kingdom in Europe is so rare, and you know it happens multiple times a day in America, but yeah, in Europe not so much. So you know, tragic case like this, and months on, we're still talking about it, and I think that's right, and I think we should do, because we need to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen again. Dog attacks in the UK are rising, and there's a lot more dogs than there used to be, and they're not being trained properly, or they're being trained badly. Either way, dogs are currently causing a lot of distress to a lot of people around the country, and it made the news this week. Good evening, Marty. I like to talk to the dead. I hope you're well. Not having a go. It's Randall and Hopkirk deceased, isn't it? That takes us nicely to Thursday, or Thursday as we prefer to call it. What happened on Thursday? Well, God only knows. Labour. God. Where are they? Where is Labour? There it is. Labour say that they will reform childcare. They're basically, if Labour get in, they are going to reform everything to do with anything, because that's all they keep saying. We're going to reform this, we're going to reform that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But they're not saying how they're going to reform it, when they're going to reform it, and how they're going to pay for it to be reformed. And whenever they get asked, how much is this going to cost to give parents more money to have childcare, or subsidise employees who work in childcare facilities, for example, so maybe pay them a wage so that the people who run it don't have to, which means they can charge less for childcare and all that kind of goings. And they always say, oh, everything's fully costed. Everything's fully costed. And it always reminds me of, if someone's going to give you 50 quid, or they owe you 50 quid, you're going to get it back, you're thinking, oh, I could buy that nice shirt I saw in that shop, or I'll buy a new computer game, or I'm into Lego at the minute, so I'll buy myself a bit of Lego, or I'll do. And by the time you've said all that, you've spent that 50 quid about 10 times over. And I feel like Labour are doing that. They're doing it with the non-dom tax status. Oh yeah, well, we're going to put that into healthcare. We're going to put that into education. We're going to put that into everything. We're going to create this green energy company. From what? You can't make an energy company with no money whatsoever. It's madness. And then they say, but we're going to do tax on excess profits of energy companies. Well, that's great, but the prices of everything are going down, and if the prices come down, they'll make less profits, so you're going to get less tax. Where's the money coming from? I am so terrified of Labour getting in. I'm not happy with Conservatives, but as I've said before, and Kylie Minogue said it as well, better the devil you know. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, I know what I mean. Russian missile strikes have basically, they're aiming for the infrastructure, which is a war crime. Because it's affecting civilians, and you cannot attack civilians directly or indirectly. Let's be honest, they attack civilians directly anyway. We've all seen the apartments that have been blown to smithereens, but they're directly attacking the infrastructure, so water treatment plants, electricity power stations, substations, all this kind of stuff. So midwinter in Ukraine is cold. We think it's bad here. My God, it's nothing compared to what's going on in Ukraine weather-wise, because it's pretty much landlocked. So the temperatures there are absolutely disgusting, and people have got no electricity, no running water, and no gas, because Putin and his cronies have blown it all to smithereens. But they've also cut the power to one of the biggest, if not the biggest, European nuclear power station. By cutting the power off, there's no power going to this power station to cool the power station down. It's got 4 massive reactors. It makes Chernobyl look like a substation. I mean, this is a huge, powerful power station, and they've cut the power to it by blowing up stuff. But the thing is, the power station is currently run by the Russians, so they're actually now endangering their own people by destroying the infrastructure that's keeping those people who are in that power station safe. And as I said before, there should be another war crime where if you militarize somewhere like a nuclear power station, or you put troops there so that they can't be shot at, or you shoot within 1 mile of a nuclear power station, then that is a war crime. Because let's be honest, a direct hit with not a nuke, but with an Exocet missile or whatever they are these days, one of them drones even, could cause untold damage worldwide. It's got to be a war crime that if you attack things such as, or risk the safety of nuclear power stations, it's a war crime. I mean, you're not just affecting the country that the nuclear power station's in, as we know from Chernobyl when that went off. You know, there's still restrictions in some parts of Europe from that. So we've got to stop people thinking it's okay to put the troops in a nuclear power station. No, that's a war crime. To cut off power to a nuclear power station, or directly attack a nuclear power station within 1 mile of a nuclear power station, they've got to be demilitarized, because it's just too dangerous for these antiquated missiles. If one goes missing, or one misses its target even, where are we at? Anyway, I absolutely, fuming, absolutely fuming. Talking of gun crime, there was a tragedy in Hamburg. Reports come through late on Thursday night of a shooting at a church, as it was described at the time, in Hamburg, and people were feared dead, but the details were still coming in. And then we've got the absolute cluster F, which is HS2. Now, I don't see the point of HS2 full stop. I genuinely don't. I don't see the point of spending all this money in order so people can travel from Manchester to London 20, 30 minutes quicker than what they can do now. That is a waste of money. More so now, because of COVID, people don't have to travel. We've got Zoom, we've got Microsoft Teams, we've got loads of things. You can even do it on Messenger if you wanted to. We don't need to spend all this money on this. That money could go into the National Health Service, could go into education, could go somewhere where it's better served. And I think HS2 is an absolute waste of time. Plus, it ain't coming to Wigan either, although people think it is. It's not. Check the route. Even check on this map here. See the yellow bit there from Crewe? And it bends. Well, we are to the right of to the left of Manchester, roughly where the red dots are. And that little line. That's roughly where we are. HS2 is coming nowhere near Wigan. So, China, stop investing in Wigan because you ain't going to get your money back because HS2 is not coming here. Anyway, they said there's a delay for it, and I don't care. HS2 is out of date already, Ben. That's the problem. Oh, you've written about Labour as well. They're going to reform the NHS, give us cheaper energy bills. Yeah, right. Fully costed by Diane Abbott. Yeah. Last thing we need right now is another Chernobyl-style nuclear disaster. Thing is, it'd be a lot bigger because that was years ago. Power stations now are a lot more powerful. So yeah, it would be scary as hell. Meanwhile, apparently, we've had snow and lots of really bad weather in the United Kingdom. But because we live in Wigan, we had nothing. I looked out the window this morning. There was a bit of snow on the roofs, a bit of snow on the car window screen, and that were it. And it had gone by the time I got downstairs. Absolute waste of time. Wigan for the weather. Wigan's weather is flatline like that. That's all it does. If it snows in Wigan, you know it's bad. Put it that way. I do feel sorry for the people around the country who've been affected by it. But if you're daft enough to drive over or attempt to drive over the M62 when you've been told there's going to be 25 to 40 centimetres of snow on the M62, then whose fault is that? The money wasted on HS2 could be better spent on our existing crumbling rail infrastructure, yeah. We blinked and it was gone. Literally, by the time I got downstairs, it had gone. Something that's not gone and is actually coming to Liverpool is the Eurovision Song Contest. And this is May Muller, and she is our singer for this Eurovision, which is in Liverpool, because United Kingdom amazingly come second last year at Eurovision for the first time in God knows how long. And obviously Ukraine won, and I think they'll win again, I'll be honest with you. But it'd be interesting to see who comes second. And what I've said all along is that Liverpool are making it about themselves. Aren't we great? Look at us. And I'm like, no, it's not about you. It's about Ukraine. By all means, have a little bit of, Liverpool stuff in there, but the majority of stuff should be Ukraine. And I even think they should have one of the presenters as a Ukrainian on stage, helping present the show. Because Ukraine, we didn't win it. We come second. Anyway, I wish May all the best. And instead, I wrote this song. Is her song, and it's a bit of an earworm. In fact, the fact I can't even remember the name of it, I don't know. And I'll tell you one thing for nothing. It's considerably better than that bloody Sam Ryder Spaceman. Oh God, I hate that song. And I did say it after Eurovision. Sam Ryder, you think he's great now? Oh, that's not come up. Why has it not come up? Why have we still got a dog there? What's going on? Why is there a dog there? Why is there a dog there? Where's she gone? There she is. There she is. Okay, sorry. But yeah, Sam Ryder, and I said at the time, we're going to be, everyone's. I didn't like the guy from the beginning, but everyone else is like, oh yeah, he's great, he's dead funny, and blah blah blah. Yeah, you'll be fed up with him soon. He'll be on everything. And for a while, he was on everything, and it's like, oh God, I don't even watch stuff, and he was on it, and it still annoyed me, and I wasn't even watching it. Anyway, that was Thursday. We're now on Friday, which incidentally was yesterday. Who knew? More news on the Gary Lineker kerfuffle. Basically, last year's second place finish at Eurovision was a flash in the pan. We'll very be surprised if we manage it again this year. Yeah, I do as well. We might get top 10 because we'll get some sympathy votes for actually hosting it for Ukraine. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, Friday. Lineker is forced to step down step back, from Match of the Day. Alan Shearer and Ian Wright walk out in solidarity, brothers. I mean, so much nonsense. You wouldn't believe the nonsense that's going on about this. And it's obviously got worse since then, but that's where we were up to yesterday. Then we had, basically, all I could think was get a room, guys. Macron and Rishi Sunak meeting up in Paris. having talks about lots of different things, including the boats, obviously European trade, and all that kind of stuff. But the amount of hugging and arms around the back and all that, it was like, my lads, get a room, will you? It was embarrassing. But anyway, you never know, something good might come of it. Said no one ever. The government, to be fair, treated businesses quite well during COVID. I thought, having a business, I was quite happy with what the government did for us. But some people took advantage of it. Anyway, they've been found guilty now, and they've all gone to prison for considerable lengths of time. And it was called the Bounce Back Loan Scheme, and the fraudsters have been jailed, and they got away with up to £10 million worth of government money, taxpayers' money. So rightly they've been jailed, but there's possibility that the people who are behind it all are still free in Eastern European countries. So again, may well be carrying on, but may not. The Hamburg shooting, 7 confirmed dead, including an unborn baby. Horrific, and it was a Jehovah's Witness place where the shooting took place, and it was apparently someone who was a Jehovah's Witness in the past but had left on bad terms. The gun was legally owned, but like I've said before, these things are very, very rare in Europe. You know, we get one a month, one every 2 months, something like that. That's a shock. We'll be coming to America shortly, but again, thoughts and prayers for all those involved. In Scotland, teachers decided to accept a 7% pay offer. 90% of the people who were balloted have accepted it. 10% didn't, and 82% turnout. I mean, we can only dream of that when it's local councils and general elections. 82%. Meanwhile, in other places, teachers warn about children using vape. Now, young lad there, obviously a school lad because he's got his school uniform on, and he's vaping. Now that is something you see everywhere. I know shops that sell vaping stuff. You see the kids stood outside on the corner, and you know, it's like a candy shop for them. My argument has always been with vaping. I've never liked it. I think personally, I think it's worse than smoking. It might be less cancerous, but we don't know what the long-term damage is. I mean, that lad's, what, 14, 15, something like that. But you see 11, 12-year-olds doing it, and they're not fully developed yet. And they're putting these chemicals into their lungs that they bought from a corner shop for a couple of quid. And then they're vaporising them, and then inhaling them into the bodies, and then exhaling them. And you're like, how is that even allowed to be anything? Whoever come up with this? And like I've said before, if I was you, if you do a lot of vaping, I'd keep your receipts so that when in 10, 15 years down the line you get some horrendous lung disease caused by vaping, then you can sue the people who sold it you. Because this is a can of worms. And in America, there's a lot of concern about vaping, and some, as we'll come to later, some of the states are contemplating banning vaping, period. So yeah, I think we're behind on this. And people say, oh yeah, but you know, smoking's bad for you as well, and blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm not disputing that. But you know, in the 1950s and even in the 1960s, there were doctors on the TV, particularly in America. We've all seen the adverts on YouTube or whatever, who were actively advertising smoking. And it's like, what? And now the governments are actively advertising or saying, recommending that people vape to get off smoking. I suppose it's maybe the lesser of two evils, I don't know. But it's meant to be a craving. But how many times do you see people walking down the street and it's like Thomas the Tank Engine? There's just smoke coming out of them all the time. You're like, no, it's when you get the craving, like nicotinell, whatever it's called. You know, you do that little spray in your mouth and it gets. You don't see people walking around spraying themselves in the mouth all the time. I think vaping is extremely dangerous and extremely underrated of what the danger is. It's bad, but at least it smells better than people who smoke weed. I actually, if I'm walking behind someone who's vaping, I will either slow down so I'm not near them when they exhale, or I'll accelerate to overtake them, or I'll even cross the road or go a different direction. I am that anti-vaping. If someone's smoking a cigarette or even a spliff, it doesn't bother me. That's natural, more natural anyway. I mean, I'm not going to go like that behind them or anything daft like that. But it does. I don't feel the need to get out of the way of that, if that makes sense. Even if it doesn't make sense, that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Don't forget, you can join in the chat. You're entitled to your own opinion, even if it's wrong. You're still entitled to it. Anyway, it's enough of teenagers giving themselves health conditions for in years to come. BBC Sport. Just when you think it can't get any worse, I say worse, I think it's brilliant. No match of the day, no football focus, no other football programmes on today, no commentators. I think it's amazing. At the moment, I think there's too much sport on at the weekend. I mean, particularly with the rugby and all that going on. Anyway, match of the day is going to have no one in the studio. There's going to be no studio. It's just going to be clips of football matches with no commentator, more than likely, unless they do a deal with the Sky commentator. But whether a Sky commentator will allow his voice to go against Gary Lineker and all the other ones, I don't know. And the football, the PFL have said that the footballers will not give interviews for match of the day. So basically, when match of the day comes on, you're going to sit there and you're going to watch clips of a football match with no commentary, no nothing. Score will come up on a banner at the bottom, and then it'll come to the next one. And I'm like, that for me is a perfect way of watching football. Although I'd sooner put my eyes out, I'll be honest. I think in the coming years we will hear about the dangers vaping more, but then it'll be too late for a lot of people. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, more so for these kids. You know, more so for going back to vaping, more so for the, you know, your 11, 12, 13-year-olds who are still developing, still growing into men or women. It is scary. It will have commentary. Oh, that's a shame. I'm not watching it anyway. I can't remember the last time I watched Match of the Day. I think I watched it just to see if Gary Lineker would dare to do it in his undies, and he did. So about 1 second in, resisting the urge to throw up, I turned over the channel. Mind you, I do that when I see Gary Lineker all the time. The other thing about this as well, actually, if you think about it, if you follow Gary Lineker on Twitter, then you know what to expect. Like if you follow, I mean, I follow Jeremy Clarkson on Instagram, and I know what to expect from Jeremy Clarkson. So I'm not surprised when he says something that's a bit, whoop. It's only on for about 20 minutes. Hi Stuart. There is news about the shop, but I can't do anything at the moment. I can't tell you yet. From the World Service, I think, all right, that's okay. But yeah, I follow him on Jeremy Clarkson on Instagram, and I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get Jeremy Clarkson. If you're a fan of Gary Lineker and you follow him on Twitter, you know what you're going to get. The thing is, if that tweet had gone out and only the people who follow Gary Lineker had seen it, none of us would know about it. It's all been blown out of proportion, if you want to put it that way. I don't know. But either way, it's an absolute cluster F for the BBC. And it's just going to get worse, I think, before it gets better. There's no way out of this now. But again, they're damned. If they didn't get rid of him for this week, they'd have been damned for that. And if they did get rid of him, they're damned for it as well. So you can't win, can you? Because I dare say if he had been on, I might watch GB News as they're doing an alternative version. Not sure how that will work because they don't have the rights to show any highlights. They'll probably have little matchstick men or action men in football kits just recreating the goals and everything. Because it's GB News. This is like GB News when they first went on air. Fluffing my lines. Not that I've got any. I don't have lines. I just write notes. I watched MOT for the highlights and the goals. Not the overpaid talking heads waffling nonsense in between the matches. Couldn't care less about the absence of Lineker and co. Fair play, Marty. But yeah, they've opened up a can of worms, and I said they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. A lot of companies are saying that they could go bust because the energy help from the government is ending. What there is for businesses, I don't know, because my business currently doesn't have a premises, so I don't have any electricity to worry about. But yeah, a lot of companies, particularly I would imagine cafes, with all the ovens on and everything, bakeries, ice cream parlours, people who use are energy intensive retailers and restaurants and pubs and that kind of thing, their bills are going to shoot up tremendously. But again, there's no need because the prices come down. And the argument always is, oh yeah, but when companies ordered it, the price was more expensive. Yeah, but before the price went up, they ordered it, and the price was cheaper than when the price went up, but they still put the price up straight away. So not having that. Not having that. I sound like Nigel Farage then. I do apologise. Did you see the meme where it had Sharma Begum presenting Match of the Day? No, that would be scary. And meanwhile, last news for today is houses are being demolished, 3 houses, due to coastal erosion in Norfolk. This isn't one of the houses. I couldn't find a picture because it's that new. It's just happening now. But yeah, these houses are currently falling into the sea because they are on the coast, and the coast is being washed away by the extreme weather we're having. Sad for the people who live there, but again, it's not something we're not familiar with. It's been happening for a long while. Someone would assume that you wouldn't buy a house or build a house near the coast. The coast will come to you eventually, and hopefully it will stop at some point. But obviously, if the tides rise because of global warming, then maybe not. Anyway, that is it for the world news as reported on United Kingdom formats. But then we've got Meanwhile in America. This is for the people who love Donald Trump and Biden, 2 best presidents we've ever had. So yeah, first up, Prince Harry smothers Archie and Lilibet with the love Charles never gave him. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? You think, oh, that's a nice thing. That's really lovely. I'm really happy. Yeah, no, don't think that, because there's always a thing with him, isn't there? Prince Harry says he smothers his 2 children with affection he never got from his own father growing up in a ticketed live stream chat with a trauma expert on Saturday. The Duke of Sussex, 38, said he constantly hugs his 3-year-old son Archie and 21-month-old daughter Lilibet, who he shares with his wife Meghan Markle, to show them the love in his own childhood lacked. I'm pretty sure that his mum at that age would have smothered him with love as well. It was just a shame that it all went very Pete Tong at the time. Plus, obviously, his dad allegedly doesn't live in the palaces. So yeah, again, you know, it's difficult to sneak in and give your son a love when everyone thinks that it's Charles's son. So yeah, allegedly, obviously, I don't know. But I think, I mean, I said this last week. He's come up with this. You know, we want privacy and blah 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 and blah 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 and leave us alone, blah blah blah. And then he does all these talk shows, and then he does a book, then he does interviews on every program available in the United States, and then he does a live stream that you have to pay to watch, talking about his innermost, darkest things with basically a psychiatrist. He needs help. I've gone past the stage of pitying him, and I've gone past the stage of thinking he's a bit of a plonker. I'm more concerned for him now than anything, and yeah, he needs someone to just pull him to one side and say, right, stop that, let's get your head sorted and let's, you know, move on. Anyway, probably when they run. Chechen warlord and Putin ally Ramazan Kadyrov is seriously ill, feared poisoned. Whoa. So, someone who knows Vladimir Putin well is gravely ill with kidney problems, sparkling fears that he was poisoned. Yeah, it's the thing. Don't get close to Vladimir Putin, because if you ever fall out with him, you're going to fall out of a hotel window mysteriously, or mysteriously take your own life in a room somewhere. Am I gaming tonight? I don't think so. I've had a really busy day, and I've been editing a video, a very long video, but there's not enough room on my phone to actually save it. So I'm doing this now, and I'm going to, yeah, it's complicated. So no, I probably won't be gaming tonight. I did last night though. I was up till late last night. Hazmat-clad suspect kills New York City deli worker and robs another. Hazmat suit-clad gunman who shot and killed a deli worker in the Upper East Side may be responsible for 3 other robberies in the last 10 days, law enforcement sources said. It's just shocking that you know, this is common. They don't even bat an eyelid now about gun crime. Passengers on private plane dies after severe turbulence. What? Yeah, a passenger on board a private plane was killed on Friday when the aircraft hit severe turbulence, the National Transportation Safety Board said. It was investigating the incident which forced the Bombardier Challenger 300 business jet to divert to Bradley International Airport. The plane was carrying 5 people who were flying from Keene, New Hampshire to Leesboro, Virginia. Tragic, horrible story, but I mean, we saw that aeroplane last week, big aeroplane, airliner, that was caught in turbulence, and people are hospitalised in that as well. Again, global warming, you see. Minnesota legislator, I'm sick of white Christians adopting Native American babies. Continuing genocide, she says. This is a level-headed woman, isn't it? A Democratic Minnesota lawmaker is facing criticism for posting online she is sick of white Christians adopting Native American babies because it means the genocide of Native Americans. I think they're adopting them. I don't think they're mating with them. That would be wrong. That would be wrong. Two suspects shoot robbery victim and flee on foot as getaway car stalls. A man was shot in the arm after confronting 2 suspects that robbed a convenience store in Houston, Texas. Authorities are still searching for the 2 suspects. Okay, no one died on that one, but still, gun crime, America, sort it out. Sort your trains out as well. Another Ohio train derailment in Springfield involved no hazardous materials or spillage, officials say. Yeah, it seems to be a thing in America at the moment. Trains just seem to be falling off the tracks, and many of them have got really bad chemicals on them, very dangerous and toxic and all that kind of thing. So America, sort your trains out. A Florida 8-year-old wins cheer competition after her team didn't turn up and she performed solo, which is a nice little happy story there. The rest of the team didn't show up. She went out on her own and she won. I think it's fantastic. Fleeing Florida motorcyclist flips off police before getting hit by truck. It's called karma. Florida police shared that a man is facing multiple charges after he reportedly flipped off a deputy before getting hit by a truck during a chase. Yeah, karma. Gotta love a bit of karma. Camille. No. Texas mother charged with capital murder after 3 children found dead and 2 injured. A Texas mother is being charged with capital murder after 3 of her children were found dead inside a home and another 2 were found injured. Again, thoughts and prayers with the family, but she should get everything that's coming to her if it was her who did it. Florida police cracked down on partygoers on spring break. We want them to behave. Law enforcement along the coast of Florida are preparing for spring break students in the month of March by implementing curfews and having more police presence. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? Let's go somewhere. We have to be in by 8. Mississippi mall shooting leaves 2 injured. A mall shooting in Hattiesburg, Mississippi on Saturday afternoon around 5:30 p.m. left 2 people injured according to the Hattiesburg Police Department. America, gun laws, sort now or else. America, trains, sort now. Ohio ASMET emergency crews respond to another train derailment near Springfield. Yep, absolutely insane. It's just going on and on and on and on. High school accused of barring white student actors from production. And you're like, what? A Massachusetts high school barred white students from participating in one of its plays, a parent group says, and the US Department of Education is investigating the claim. The conservative Parents Defending Education says in a complaint filed in October that the Newtown North High School production of Lost and Found, Our Stories, as People of Colour, was only open to theatre students who are black, indigenous. Yeah, I mean, I get, if it's about black people and it's a story about black people, then surely it is meant for black people in that respect. I can imagine the hurrah if they'd actually got some white students to go into it, but they had to colour their faces. Heaven forbid. Naked Virginia woman shot in leg after she allegedly broke into a home, attacked victim with a frying pan. Virginia homeowner who shot 35-year-old Paula Lockyer in the leg after she allegedly broke into his Austinville home naked and attacked him with an iron frying pan. Maybe she'd watched a lot of Faulty Towers, though. I don't know where the nakedness comes from. Ohio woman guilty of drowning grandmother in kitchen sink to avoid putting her in a nursing home. An Eaton, Ohio woman pleaded guilty to drowning her grandmother in the kitchen sink after being told the elderly woman needed to be in a costly nursing home. Anything to save money, eh? I know times are hard, but come on. Speaker McCarthy to meet Taiwan's president in the US to avoid escalating tensions with China. The president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, will meet with US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California instead of Taipei in hopes of preventing tensions from rising. The fact that he's meeting an American is going to raise tensions anyway, let's be honest. Texas alligator seized after living in backyard for more than 20 years. Wildlife officials in Texas posted a video of an alligator rescue. The reptile had been reportedly living in a woman's backyard for more than 20 years. I don't understand why people keep pets like that, and it's just wrong on so many levels and beyond those levels as well, and then even a bit further after that. Georgia shooting leaves 2 dead, 6 wounded outside Sweet 16 party that hosted well over 100 teens. No other details are available, but again, horrendous. Teenagers being murdered. America, gun laws, now, sort. Bolingbrook shooting, possible home invasion leaves 3 dead, including a child. It's in Chicago, that. America, guns, sort them. Please, stop letting your children die needlessly. Florida alligator bites man on his front porch after he opens door. I thought that was a euphemism, to be fair. It bit me on my front porch. But no, it was actually, he opened his porch and the alligator was there and it bit him. On the leg, no other injuries were sustained and the alligator was safely removed from said porch, which is always good to know. Stymied cops plead with public to help nail hazmat killer. Cops released new image of the accused hazmat killer on Monday, but the grainy surveillance shot wasn't enough for detectives to get a lead on the bizarrely dressed suspect. Yeah, he was doing multiple robberies. We said he'd already killed one worker in a deli. More of that later. Archaeologists in Egypt unearthed a Sphinx-like Roman-era statue, and I must admit, that looks well cool. Archaeologists unearthed a Sphinx-like statue and the remains of a shrine in an ancient Egyptian temple in southern Egypt. Aquatities authorities said on Monday. The artifacts were found in the temple of Dendra in Cuna province, 280 miles south of the capital Cairo. And they could be Roman, and it's Sphinx as well. That's a really nice thing. I'd buy that for $1. To be fair, it's probably a lot bigger than it looks. I won't have anywhere to put it. Biden stumbles again on Air Force One. Almost falls on Alabama trip. There's going to be a compilation when he stops being president of him trying to climb stairs. There was a thing about Donald Trump, wasn't it? He didn't like stairs, and was it Theresa May who actually had to hold his hand when they were at the White House so he could get down some stairs? It's just bonkers. SUV crashes into Houston coffee shop, narrowly misses podcasters. You see the 2 pictures behind. The top picture, you can see the vehicle in the distance, and it just keeps coming and drives into the windows, which you can see the bottom picture. And these 2 lads were actually doing a live stream podcast at the time. I bet that's their record podcast of all time as well. Let's be honest, we'd all watch that, won't we? No one was injured. That's the main thing. Wedding venue owner points gun at Florida newlyweds during reception. So it's the venue owner. A Florida couple's marriage got off to a rocky start when the owner of their reception venue pointed a gun at them and ordered everyone to get out after a row over the music. In the same video posted by Jonathan Campos, the DJ and cousin of the bride, shows the irate man waving the weapon and shouting at the terrified guests on Thursday night. Yeah, some people should not be allowed to have guns. I think that would be the majority of Americans, because stuff like this just happens all the time. All the time. Bad news for Biden. New survey shows majority of Americans more worried about inflation than taxes. 81% of Americans are more concerned with inflation than with taxes, and 73% do not believe taxes are being used well, in a worrying sign for President Joe Biden. That seems like a staged thing, the car coming through the window. I don't think it was. Have you seen the video? Doesn't look staged to me. It looks like someone, one of them things where they think they put the foot on the brake to stop in the parking space, but then jumps over the curb and goes into the back window. But yeah, well, it's made worldwide news, hasn't it? It's given me 5 seconds of something to talk about. Arizona teen found dead, wrapped in blankets, parents arrested. An Arizona man and woman have been charged with concealing a body that is possibly their teenage son, who they said had died. Well, what they didn't say was how, obviously. Whether people panic or not, I don't know. If someone dies, I mean, if someone dies in your house and it's an accident or something, I think I would call the police and the ambulance and stuff like that. I wouldn't try and hide the body in the house or anything. But I think your brain just flips, doesn't it, when something happens? So, anyway, hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. China says US must change distorted attitude or risk confrontation. China warned on Tuesday that the US must change its distorted attitude towards the country or face conflict and confrontation in the latest escalation as relations between Washington and Beijing are at their lowest point in decades. Yeah, I mean, we trust China with everything they say. Be fair, as I've said many times, you've got to take, when one country slags off another country, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But I think when China does it, and when Russia does it, and when North Korea does it, you've got to take it with a truckload of salt, whatever they say. More than 100 migrants, kids found abandoned in a trailer in Mexico. Over 100 unaccompanied migrant children were discovered inside an abandoned trailer in Mexico, one of the largest recent discoveries of minors migrating through the country. Most of the 103 unchaperoned minors have been travelling through Mexico from Guatemala. Yeah, horrible, horrible, horrible. Guns are funny. Thing here in the US, you're not supposed to have them if you're mentally ill. People say that you need a gun for self-defense. The only reason why you need a gun for self-defense is because everyone's got a gun. You know, we don't need a gun in the UK for self-defense, and the chances of being shot, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's considerably less likely than what it would be if I lived in America. So yeah, it's a weird one. NFL star Joe Mixon's house cordoned off by police. Sister says he's uninvolved in a shooting. Police surrounded the home of Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon after deputies responded to reports of shots fired in the area. No arrests were made and the scene has since been cleared. Mixon's involvement in the incident is still unknown. The shooting was reported about 8:30 p.m. in the Anderson Township. Yeah, so maybe nothing to do with him, but it was near his house. This makes you feel old, if you remember Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World star Ben Savage officially launches his campaign for US Congress. Actor Ben Savage, best known for starring in the hit sitcom Boy Meets World, has officially launched his campaign bid for Congress. In an Instagram post shared on Monday, the Democrat vowed to restore faith in government as a representative of California's 30th district seat, currently held by Republican Adam Schiff. Together we can do better. I am a proud Californian union member and long-time resident in the state. But yeah, that kid who was who we all laughed at for the stuff that they got up to. It was before Malcolm in the Middle. If anything, Malcolm in the Middle was possibly inspired by Boy Meets World. But Malcolm in the Middle went off a much better, much funnier tangent. Boy Meets World was a little bit more serious. But yeah, that kid is now going for Congress. Wow. I'm starting to feel like my mum did probably when Ronald Reagan became president. Oh, I remember watching him in the cinema. Illinois woman finds husband's body in home 8 months after he disappeared. What? An Illinois woman found her dead husband's body inside their home nearly 8 months after he disappeared. Jennifer Mededge reported her husband Richard missing on the afternoon of April the 27th. Police responded and searched the house and launched an investigation into his whereabouts. Richard, it turned out, didn't go anywhere. Yep, there's more to this because I was like, I've got to follow this up. What is going on? And on December 11, Jennifer went to retrieve some Christmas decorations and was shocked to find her husband's body in the closet where they were stored. His death was ruled as suicide, according to a report from the county coroner released on Thursday. But they had reported bad smells. The neighbours had reported bad smells as well. And yeah, he'd been dead in a closet for 8 months before he was found. The bad smells were reported to the police. They came out, they did a search. It's beggars belief. It goes on sometimes. Maryland State Trooper shot during traffic stop in Eastern Shore. A Maryland State Trooper was shot during a traffic stop on Monday night. Shortly after the stop, the driver was found slumped over the wheel with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Yeah, it's just never-ending, America. Please. White House response to China says we do not want conflict. The White House responded to Chinese officials' accusations of aggression on Tuesday, clarifying that President Biden is not seeking conflict. No poo Sherlock. The sad thing is you have to explain this. That's what scares me. A body was recovered in the search for missing 13-year-old Texas twins. One of the teen missing teenagers was found off the coast of Galveston on early Thursday evening. Authorities have been searching for the two since Sunday afternoon. Tragic story then. Gone for a swim, and yeah, they sadly found one of the bodies. Other one still missing. Houston video shows man rob terrifies 72-year-old woman at gunpoint and drive off with a BMW. Texas police are asking for any related information after a man was caught on video holding an elderly couple at gunpoint, stealing their BMW sedan last month. Horrendous. It's normalised though. It's just normalised over there. I don't get it. House China Committee Chair says Xi is deadly serious about invading Taiwan. Yeah, we've known that for a while. He's deadly serious about invading Taiwan, saying the recent increase in the People's Liberation Army's budget makes that clear. Because the army has gone up a lot and he spent a lot of money on new weapons, etc, etc, etc. Georgia teen killed in shooting outside house party has been identified. Samuel Moon, 15, and Anna J. Hill, 14, were identified as the two teens killed when gunfire erupted outside a house party in Douglasville, Georgia on Saturday night. 14 and 15-year-olds. Silicon Valley. I didn't mention Silicon Valley. Hawaii cites man for allegedly harassment of humpback whale and dolphins. Hawaii officials cited a 65-year-old Maori man on Monday after he allegedly harassed a humpback whale and a pod of dolphins. He's scheduled to appear in court on May the 11th. I mean, how do you harass a humpback whale? I mean, they're huge. They're beyond huge. They're even bigger than that. China, US heading for conflict and confrontation, Foreign Minister warns. So yeah, things are ramping up. Southern California residents frustrated after record snowfall traps them in for over a week. It's exhausting, they've said. While Southern California officials are working to clear roads and provide food and emergency service after record snowfall, some residents are frustrated. They're not used to it, are they? It's the Sunshine Coast. It's not the snow-filled coast. So yeah, I can see where they're coming from. University of Houston scraps diversity, equality and inclusion statements from hiring practices. The University of Houston system announced it will ditch diversity, equality and inclusion statements from hiring practices after a directive from the governor's office. Now I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because I'm not exactly sure whether they're making it part of it or whether they're removing it from making it part of it. If it's the latter, that's a good thing. If it's the former, then it's not a good thing at all. Elite US high school took more than $1 million from Chinese stated groups. Too much bond exposure. They put all their eggs in one basket. 3% bonds last year. The huge investment rate run up, half the value of those bonds, and kaboom, yeah. Everything's going pop at the moment. Virginia Public High School, ranked among the best in America, has raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars from entities linked with Chinese state since 2014 as part of an ongoing fundraising campaign. Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology received the donations of at least $250,000 from a non-profit Amazon Educational and Cultural Exchange based in China. China, we rely too much on China, it's scary. Disneyland ditches Zippity-Doo-Dah from parade in latest woke nod. It's a woke world after all. Disney has quietly axed its beloved Zippity-Doo-Dah tune from its daily park parade performances because the catchy song is tied to the 1946 film Song from the South. Amid woke makeover, the amusement park Disneyland visitors will no longer hear the iconic song during its popular twice-daily Magic Happens parade. Instead, the praise list will feature a song from another, less controversial movie. Possibly. But we don't know, do we? Because at the moment, anything could be controversial. And I mean anything. Florida authorities launch search and rescue effort after planes collide mid-air over a lake. 2 airplanes collided over a Florida lake on Tuesday, and first responders were conducting search efforts, authorities said. I mean, shocking to think. I mean, they're only, I say only, there were 2 like Cessna planes, little planes. But how planes can fly into each other baffles me, it really does. Unless it's like underneath, like that. But if they're coming towards each other, you can see each other. Unless they both took the same evasive action. Anyway, it didn't end well, unfortunately. New Jersey dad shoots wife, teen son, himself in apparent murder and suicide. Again, gun crime. If I did this without gun crime, the American part of this broadcast would be over in 5 minutes. Instructor, student, pilot among dead as planes collide and plummet into Florida Lake. 4 people were killed, including a flight instructor and a student pilot, when 2 planes collided in mid-air on Tuesday and plunged into a Florida lake. Like I say, yeah, tragic story. But how? How can 2 planes collide mid-air? I don't know. New West African lion cubs offer hope that rare species can beat extinction. New footage was been revealed that West African lion has given birth to cubs, giving experts renewed hope that the critically endangered species can beat extinction. The videos, taken with the camera traps in February. February? Oh yeah, we're in March now, aren't we? It's only a few days ago. National Park in Senegal shows mother lion Florence tending to her 3 cubs, which is good news. We need some good news every now and then, because let's be honest, most news is tragically sad news, and yeah, good news is good news. We like good news. R.L. Stine accuses publisher of making woke edits behind his back. Kids horror author R.L. Stine has denied sanitizing his classic Goosebumps books to appease the woke, accusing his publisher of altering his work behind his back. The 79-year-old horror author spoke up after the Times of London claimed that he had censored over a dozen of his books to avoid mentions of race or calling characters fat or crazy. He replied, "This story is false. I have never changed a word in any of my books, and I have no intention of doing so." And rightly so. At least he's around to defend it, unlike Roald Dahl, who we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. A 21-year-old man arrested in shooting of 2 teens near New York City High School. A Brooklyn man with trigger-happy criminal history was arrested in the shooting that left 2 teens wounded near their Brooklyn High School on Tuesday. Cops cuffed 21-year-old Usman Dalao of Crown Heights for allegedly opening fire on the students around 2:30 p.m. The teens were inside a Bunagada, some shop, across from their school when they were shot in the shoulder. But they call him trigger happy, which means he's done it again. So how's he managed to get a gun if he's trigger happy? Woman 21 claims she was having a dream when she stabbed ex-boyfriend 19 times. A Wisconsin woman with a history of abuse claimed that she was having a dream when she stabbed her sleeping ex-boyfriend 19 times last month, a court documents show. Morgan Lund, 21, pleaded not guilty to the February 18 slashing by a reason of mental disease or deficit on Monday. Police arrived at the couple's Okesh home just before 8 a.m. to find a crying Lund covered in blood. Yeah, that seems legit, doesn't it? I mean, who hasn't assaulted someone whilst dreaming? That's rhetorical, by the way. Remnants of Russian platoon refused to fight after bulk mobilization to Donbass. A Russian officer fighting in the Donbass region of Ukraine released a defiant video saying that he and whatever was left of his decimated platoon were refusing to follow orders after being forced to attack settlements without any training. The recording, which spread on Telegram channels this week, shed light to the purported chaos within the ranks of Vladimir Putin's draftees mobilized in Ukraine. Yeah, because they're basically sending anyone with a heartbeat nowadays to go on the front line with I don't know if I've actually put it on here or not, but they've not even got guns. They have to fight, or ammo. They have to fight with weapons such as shovels and things like that. I mean, it's just bonkers. Harry and Meghan's kids now prince and princess, despite the growing rift. Despite an ever-deepening rift with the royal family, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's kids are now officially a prince and princess. Titles their mum bitterly suggested had been withheld because of race. The titles emerged on Wednesday when a spokesperson for the exiled royals confirmed that Princess Lilibet Diana was christened in California on Friday without her royal relatives flying in from the UK. Yeah, it's not the kids' fault at the end of the day what's going on. So, you know, they should be prince and princess, in my opinion. Not that, you know, it's going to make a lot of difference to their life, but it's their right. They were born into it, so they should get it. Black couple's home appraises for $500,000 more when a white pal poses as the owner. A black couple has settled a lawsuit with a property appraiser who undervalued their California home by almost $500,000. Paul Astin and Tennessee Tate's Austin's 4-bedroom residence in swanky Sosolto near San Francisco was valued at $998,000 by Janet Miller, co-owner of Miller and Petriot Real Appraisers. The figure was $455,000 lower than an appraisal in the same property when a white man claimed to be the owner of it. So yeah, unbelievable that stuff's going on like that, but it's America, isn't it? It's kind of what happens. I'm just fed up of America, I'll be honest. NASA rover captures rare Martian sunset. Stunning images, that's overstating it a little, have captured a Martian sunset, marking the first time sun's rays have been so clearly viewed on the red planet. NASA's Curiosity rover took photographs of the beams of light illuminating a bank of clouds during a magnificent sunset above Mars, according to NASA. The sun rays captured in the image are known as crepuscular rays, a name which comes from Latin word for twilight. So yeah, it's yeah, I wouldn't say it was an outstanding picture, but it's still pretty. It's a pretty picture. We like pretty pictures, don't we? Yeah, we do. Texas bill proposes tax credits for non-divorced traditional married couples. Legislation was proposed in Texas that would give tax credits to qualifying families with 4 or more children. However, not everyone agrees with the rule of qualification. Just join the chat while watching Match of the Day. I'll do the commentary for you. And he's passed the ball to him, and he's passed the ball to him, and it's a goal. Oh no, it's been disallowed, VAR. Pennsylvania school graffiti threatens 5 white teachers' lives unless more black staff are hired. Graffiti warning on an Upper Darby, Pennsylvania school to hire more black teachers or 5 white ones will die was found scrawled on a bathroom wall. Again, you want the best people for the jobs. I wouldn't want someone to get a job because of their colour of skin. I would want them to get a job because they were the best person to do that job, regardless of gender, religion, sexuality, even beliefs. Just be good at the job. Illegal migration now costs US taxpayers $151 billion a year, a new study finds. So it's not just Britain that's paying for migration, it's all over the world. All over the world. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Kim Jong-un. No, it's not. It's America's opinion of China plummets to a record low, while most view Beijing as biggest threat to the US in a poll. Only 15% of Americans, a record low, hold a favourable view on China, according to a new national poll from Gallup, and most view Beijing as the top threat to the country's security. Oh, I'm so happy that Wigan is so closely involved with China at the moment. Not. A bill requiring Kentucky colleges to allow campus concealed guns carry that doesn't make sense. A bill requiring Kentucky colleges to allow campus concealed carry moves forward. Gun-free zones have failed. A Republican Kentucky lawmaker is sponsoring a bill that would prevent public colleges and universities from banning guns on campus and allow anyone over 21 to have them concealed on their person. What could possibly go wrong? I've said this so many times. No, it's American news. We're talking about American news. I have an Indian one and I have an Australian flag as well. Dunkin' employee accused of shooting customer after an argument. Now, my daughter works at Dunkin', and it's not her, you'll be pleased to hear. Police in Florida are working to figure out what caused a Dunkin' employee to follow a customer into a parking lot to continue an argument and then shoot him. I mean, what can you argue about when you go into Dunkin'? Apart from the fact they don't do jam donuts. I have to go to Greg's for my jam donuts, and it's like, the Dunkin' ones are so much nicer. Okay, they're about 5 times the price, but they're so much nicer. Iowa bill pushes to halt woke agenda in state universities. Republican-sponsored Iowa bill would prohibit universities from spending money to fund any diversity, equality and inclusion officers and officers. Again, there's got to be a balance somewhere for this. You need stuff like that, definitely. You need stuff like that these days, particularly when you're dealing with adolescents, young adults as they're now called, or children. You need that kind of guidance that so people can, speak to someone about it. So to completely get rid of it, it's like with America, it's either so far right you can actually see it when you look left, or it's so far left it hits you in the face on the right side. You've got to find the middle ground. I think that's what America is lacking, and it's all parts of America. I mean, since I've been doing this, there's never been anything that's you've gone, oh yeah, that's all right. Watch your doggy doors. Arizona homeowner finds a bobcat laying on dog bed inside a house. It's a very pretty bobcat. A bobcat was found inside a San Manuel, Arizona home, lounging on a dog bed with a blanket and toys nearby when the owner of the home arrived after work. Doesn't mention that the cat had eaten the dog. No, that didn't happen. I just made that up. But yeah, imagine finding a bobcat in your dog's bed and think, well, where's the dog? 4 dogs fatally maul man working at a California home. A man doing work on property in Southern California on Tuesday was mauled to death by 4 massive dogs while their owner was away. You think that if you had someone working in your house and you had massive dogs, that you would put the massive dog somewhere that wouldn't affect the worker. I mean, you wouldn't think that the massive dogs would kill the worker, but I mean, it's just being polite, isn't it? We've got 4 massive dogs, so what we're going to do is we're going to lock them in the garage or somewhere. So don't go to the garage or anything, and just do your work, and then you know, when we get home, we'll let them out again, or let them in the garden or whatever. Don't know. Anyway, yeah, tragic again. Where am I up to? Oh, there we go. Boom, 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 boom. That's the one. So many of these. Oh no, I've done that one. Oh, see, I told you, so many of them. Georgia gunman fires shots outside elementary school. Manhunt underway. It looks like something out of a movie, doesn't it? Looks like something out of RoboCop, the good one, the old one. But it's not. There's a man firing shots outside of an elementary school, for God's sake. America, what are you doing? Okay, no one was injured, but it doesn't mean he's not going to come back and injure or kill someone. Texas elementary school principal arrested after bringing cocaine into school. A Texas elementary school assistant principal is charged with bringing cocaine to campus after an employee found the drugs in a restroom at a local school. I suppose it beats guns, but yeah, I'll just leave this white powder lying around, and the kids find it and think it's sherbet or something. Yeah, but Tiger Woods' ex-girlfriend tricked into leaving his home and then locked out amid a messy split. He's good at messy splits, isn't he? If you remember, the first car crash that we were aware of he had was when his then wife was chasing him down the drive and through the gate with a golf club and smashed the back window of his car, and he crashed into a tree. Tiger Woods he's not having a life that I'd particularly want. He's got the money, but is he happy? I don't think so. Thousands of US public schools hide child gender status from parents. Nearly 6,000 US public schools are employing guidance policies that block parents from knowing whether their child identifies as a different gender in their classroom, which could become federal policy if President Biden's Title IX proposals are approved in May. At least 168 school districts nationwide have rules in the books that prevent the facility and staff from disclosing to parents the student's gender status. Why? Surely if the parent, oh yeah, maybe not in Texas, but anywhere else in America, if the parents are understanding, it'd be better. They could talk to the child about it and maybe help the child decide whether that is the way they want to go or not the way they want to go, but they don't know about it. Get if it was some medical condition and doctors and that kind of thing, that's different. But yeah. Biden jokes he's 400 years old and calls Trump maybe future president. You can't beat a bit of Biden. President Biden sounded pessimistic about his re-election chances on Thursday, calling his predecessor and 2024 challenger Donald Trump the maybe future president of the United States. Biden, aged 80, also referred to himself as 400 years old during a rambling speech in Philadelphia that was meant to highlight the release of his annual budget proposal, which includes key planks of his re-election. So basically, he said, Donald Trump's going to be the next president, and I'm too old for all this malarkey. Yeah, we've known that since the day he got elected, to be fair. In fact, we knew that before he was elected, to be fairer. Oh, we've done him again. I've done him again. Go away, Biden. We've done you. Go away, Biden. There he is. There he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Mike Epps apologises after loaded gun found in his backpack at Indianapolis Airport. I literally forgot. Comedian Mike Epps has apologised to his fans days after the federal agents confiscated a loaded gun from his possession as he attempted to board a flight at the Indianapolis International Airport. In a video posted on Instagram, Epps said he always carries a weapon with him, but wanted to apologise for the negativity that surrounded the incident. Yeah. I forgot I had a loaded gun in my bag. Silly me. plane passengers slammed for grabbing selfies during evacuation. Classed as incredibly stupid. Better sorry than safe, it says. Apparently, footage of an emergency Southwest Airlines plane landing on Sunday has emerged, but it's what the passengers did while evacuating that is catching people's attention. The flight was en route from Havana, Cuba to Fort Lauderdale, Florida last weekend when it was forced to land after one of its engines and its nose had bird strikes. The plane began to fill up with smoke, and the flight was forced to land at a nearby airport, and then the passengers got out and just started taking selfies of each other. Only in America. Although technically it wasn't in America because it hadn't made it to America. But you know what I mean. America sorted. No, you're alright. Then we've got Arizona couple hid boy's body behind wall and then claim he ran away. Now this is a couple who claimed that he died. Now they're saying he'd ran away. A 16-year-old dead son behind a stone wall, but they told the police he'd ran away. Reported missing on February the 25th, telling deputies that they had last seen a teenager around 10 a.m. on February the 24th. But yeah, horrific, absolutely horrific. Stomach churning sushi terrorism leads to arrests and reforms in Japan. One reason I wouldn't go to a sushi restaurant, the same reason I don't go to buffets. If I ever go anywhere where there's a buffet, I won't eat it because you don't know who's been there before. And this is before COVID. I've always been like this. I've always been a bit of a germaphobe when it comes to stuff like that. When I was a kid at school, you know, if one of my mates offered me off the bubbly, bit it in half and give it me, they've been chewing for half an hour, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. Jesus, I don't want that in my mouth. It's been in your mouth. Dirty sod. And it's the same with buffets. You don't know who's been there before. You don't know who's coughed over it. You don't know who's got dirty hands, who's been to the toilet, not washed their hands, picked up a chicken drumstick, changed their mind, put it back down again. You pick it up and eat it and die from God knows what. So yeah, sushi terrorists. Basically, when you've got the food going round on the conveyor belt thing, they're lifting up the lids as it goes past and tampering with the food. And yeah, horrible thing to do. And it's not funny, it's not clever. But yeah, like I've said before, it's definitely one reason why I would never go to a sushi. That, and in fact, I don't actually like sushi. That's probably the main reason, I'll be honest. Norfolk Southern train derails in Alabama hours before CEO grilled by Congress for why trains are derailing. America, sort your fucking trains out, will you? I mean, how many derailments do you need? There's more derailments almost now than there is gun crime. Well, no, obviously not. But yeah, just sort your trains out. White House dragged for honouring trans woman on International Women's Day. Again, very confusing, mixed messages here. Critics accuse the White House of diminishing women by honouring a biological man on International Women's Day. Alba Ruda, a transgender woman who serves as Argentina's special envoy for sexual orientation and gender identity, was presented with an International Woman of Courage Award in a ceremony hosted by First Lady Jill Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. If it's a trans woman, then isn't that a woman? Am I missing something here? I don't get it. I don't get what the problem is or why that's even a problem. I mean, there are bigger problems to worry about, let's be honest. Buckingham Palace updates website to make Archie and Lilibet Prince and Princess. So it's official. The Buckingham Palace have named them his and hers. But of course, Prince and Princess will be obsolete soon because it's sexist. Never mind. Asteroid could barrel into Earth on Valentine's Day in 23 years, say NASA. An asteroid the size of an Olympic swimming pool has a small chance of barreling into Earth on Valentine's Day in 23 years from now, according to scientists. The asteroid, catchily named 2023 DW, has 1 in 625 chance of slamming into Earth on February the 14th. Now, 1 in 625 It's not 106 in 125,000 or million. It's just 1 in 625. That is a pretty high risk. The space rock with a 50-meter diameter is the first. Is at the #1 spot for the agency risk list. But we've got this new smash a rocket into it, because if they hit it right, they could increase that to 1 in 165,000 chance. But they hit it wrong, they could make it a 1 in 1 chance of it hitting. Yeah, I don't know when I'll be around in 20 odd years time, so worry about that nearer the time. Shark, 11 foot, 1,200 pound great white shark tracked off Florida coast. It's got a massive pole in its mouth as well, which is a shame. A massive 11 foot long, 1,200 pound great white shark is being tracked off the coast of Florida as thousands of spring breakers flock to the state's beaches named Maple. Named Maple, the female apex predator pinged on Monday morning southeast of George Island, the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not that shark. I do apologise. Well, I didn't put the picture, they put the picture. It's a different shark that's still swimming free in the sea, where it belongs. I don't understand why we vilify sharks. We're in their area. You know, if a shark comes out of the sea and starts attacking us, then we'll attack it back. And that's only what it's doing. Yeah. 3 police officers shot in East Los Angeles. 3 police officers were shot and wounded while responding to a call in East Los Angeles on Wednesday. The LAPD said the officers were rushed to an area hospital but did not release information on their injuries or conditions. But yeah, there's just too many shootings. And like I said last week, you know, people say, oh yeah, but America's a big country and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I know it's a big country. I know all that. I'm not stupid. But that's why I would say Europe. You know, Europe is a big area, and we don't get anywhere near the number of shootings that they do. A 3D printed rocket has had its launch postponed. The first ever 3D printed rocket was scheduled to lift off from Cape Canaveral on Wednesday night, but it was scrubbed less than an hour before launch. The debut of the new rocket, designed by California-based startup Relatively Space, was postponed over fuel temperature concerns, putting off a key test for the company's revolutionary strategy to cut manufacturing costs for its space-bound craft. Sounds like a good idea, but if it's 3D printed, what's it printed with? Is it just plastic or something? Because I can't imagine that would be very secure if it's a plastic rocket. It'll melt with the heat from the rocket. 82-year-old accused of selling $800,000 in fake sports trading cards, including rookie Michael Jordan's, plural. These Air Jordan cards were nothing but air balls. Colorado senior citizen Mayo Gilbert McNeil was federally charged with allegedly scheming with others to sell and trade fake sports trading cards, including valuable 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan rookie cards, prosecutors announced. It's worrying that, you know, they've got all this gun crime and they're chasing people for fake trading cards. Just saying. A Virginia 6-year-old boy who shot teacher won't be charged, but the parents still could be. No, the parents should be. They should not have allowed a 6-year-old to be able to leave the house with a loaded gun. Chicago students hospitalised after stink bomb goes off at elementary school. It must have been a hell of a stink bomb, that's all I can say. I know some stink bombs smell, but bloody hell, hospitalising people. Florida beachgoers detail unexpected encounters with nudists. Nudists and those in clothes have been, they're called textiles, those in clothes by the way, have been experiencing close encounters along the Atlantic Florida shoreline. It appears the rendezvous are happening due to lack of signage. Yeah, I've said before, I fancy going on a nudist beach. I think it'd just be fun, just to walk around with nothing on, but then you know the embarrassment of it all, I suppose. Obviously everyone else is naked, I don't know. I'm at that age now where you don't care. Philadelphia husband subdues gunman who shot wife and daughter in pizza shop during armed robbery. A 66-year-old mother and a 34-year-old daughter in Philadelphia were reported to be in stable condition after being shot during an attempted armed robbery. But their husband stroke father kept the gunman, and he was detained. Now, you remember earlier on we had the tragic tale of the body of one of the twins being found. The second twin brother was recovered off the coast of Texas. Officials have told a Houston TV station they believe that they have found the body of the second 13-year-old twin missing off the coast of Texas since Sunday. So a tragic case for the family and friends. Again, thoughts and prayers. Just horrific. I mean, to lose any children, but to lose identical twins, absolutely, you couldn't imagine it. Utah bank robber steals $1, demands to go to federal prison. A suspected bank robber in Utah allegedly stole £1 from Wells Fargo branch and waited for the police to arrive because he wanted to go to federal prison. Talk about knowing what you want and how to get there. Yeah, I only want $1. No, put a lot of money away. Just give us $1. Give us a buck. Oklahoma owner charged with murder after setting fire to a building that occupants had refused to leave. An Oklahoma homeowner and his friend are facing murder charges for allegedly setting fire to a building after the occupants refused to leave after being served eviction notices. I mean, where does your mind go? I mean, not only has he killed these people, he's actually burnt down his own property. New York City rats carry COVID-19. Could pose a risk to humans, a new study says. Maybe the rats do run this city. New York City rodents carry the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19, and researchers fear it could be transferred to humans, according to a new study. The News for Research published on Thursday in the American Society for Microbiology determines that the rats could be infected with the Alpha, Delta and Omicron variants. Yeah, but what can you do? There are rats everywhere. As we found out this week or last week, there was talk of killing all the cats in the United Kingdom because one person had possibly caught COVID from cat. But, you know, I've got cats and I've had no problems with it. King Charles hands Duke of Edinburgh title to Prince Edward. Britain's King Charles gave his younger brother Prince Edward the title of Duke of Edinburgh on Friday, handing him the title last held by their father, Prince Philip. So yeah, and doesn't he look happy about it? Sorry. And then finally, for America, Kim supervises North Korean troops simulating attack on the South. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised a live-fire artillery drill simulating an attack on South Korea airfield and calls for his troop to be ready to respond to the enemies. Frantic war preparation moves, apparently referring to the recent series of military drills between the United States and South Korea. The North Korean state media reported on Friday, and it came a day after South Korea's military detected the North Korean army setting up for manoeuvres. But his country is starving at the moment. His people are desperate for food and money and stuff, and he's spending all this money on firing rockets. I mean, if that's a picture from when this was, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missile launchers all in a row, all firing at the same time for no other reason than saber rattling. Surely if he only fired 2 even, the effect would have been the same, but those 3 rockets he wouldn't have to replace. That money could go on something else. To be fair, probably his posh mansion. But I just don't understand how dictators' minds work. But that's probably because I'm not a dictator. I mean, people say I'm a dick, but I'm not a dictator. So that was USA news. Meanwhile, down under, not so many this week of down under, and in good old India as well. Bit of a quiet week. Missing teen body found off Sydney Beach. Whoops, what's going on there? Let's go back in. There we go. A full-scale multi-agent search for a missing 18-year-old has come to an end after a body was found in Sydney's northern beaches. The search was initiated last night after reports the teenager had gone missing around 8 p.m. while swimming with two other friends when they lost sight of him. Dangers of swimming in wild water. An out-of-control truck was seen ploughing through a busy intersection in Mattingham earlier this week. That's a picture of it hitting various objects on the footpath and just levelling them. And then the video is shockingly bad, and that's the lorry demolishing hedges and trees and other whatnots before coming to a halt. No word on what happened to the driver, or no injuries on the pavement though, thank God. Extreme weather set to hit across the country. You've got two extreme weathers there. You've got incredible heat and snow and ice. Australia is set to face a series of extreme weather conditions this week. It is expected to start with a heat wave and fire warnings and then finish with possible rainy, cold and snowy conditions in some states. So it's not just British weather that's messed up, the whole world's weather's messed up. Shoppers may feel the pinch in the refrigerated section of supermarkets after a major trucking company, freight giant, collapsed, causing possible food supply delays. Again, it's all tied to not having it, they can't get enough drivers, fuel costs, rising food prices, therefore margins are tighter for everyone so they don't get paid as much. And yeah, a big company in Australia has gone bust. It won't be the only one, but it's all over the world. Queensland beer recalled for having excessive alcohol. Queensland, your mate's brewing company, Watermelon Sour Beer, is being recalled online and across Queensland after it was found to contain excess alcohol due to secondary fermentation. This beer may cause injury or illness if consumed. I don't know what injury you get from it. I mean, if you got that drunk you fell over maybe. Hard Rock Cafe guitar is taken down. It's the end of an era at Surfers Paradise. The iconic Hard Rock Cafe guitar has been taken down overnight with the front of the building left bare this morning. It doesn't state whether or not the Hard Rock Cafe is closed down or whether it's just having a new look, but anyway, no doubt there'll be more of that later. A woman gets kicked out of court for breastfeeding. A woman has been booted out of a courtroom yesterday for breastfeeding her child. County Court Judge Mark Gamble asked the woman to leave the busy public gallery during a high-profile trial. Campaigners and advocacy groups are outraged, while the County Court and Judge are yet to make a comment. It's a tricky one. I think my main question is, why would you take a baby to a court? I think that's my bigger question out of all this. I know when a baby's hungry, it's hungry, and if you've got to breastfeed them, you've got to breastfeed them, but why take it to a court? A group of fishermen from WA are being hailed as heroes after jumping to rescue a shark with hooks, fishing lines and seaweed tangled in its mouth. Again, it's another video I've watched, and it is impressive the amount of stuff that they pull out of this shark's mouth, and then it just swims off. But yeah, you've got to be brave. I know it's not the biggest shark in the world, but you've got to be brave to get in the water with a shark, and then even more so to start messing with its mouth. Mind you, it's better than messing with a frog's backside. A bizarre photo showing a green tree frog with a baby snake coming out of it has left the internet bamboozled. Yeah, that is a bizarre picture. It's not cute, it's not clever, it's just weird. But that's it for Australian news. Meanwhile, in India, what's going on in India? Well, come on then, what's going on in India? I need to open that up, don't I? Yeah, I do. There you go. Hi, Matt. Still take a limb off. Oh yeah, the shark would. I was thinking of a frog having a snail up its bum. I'm like, well, how would that take a... But yeah, no, you're right, definitely. So not as many as usual for India. Um, uh, Girl tests HIV positive after doctor used the same syringe for several patients. A girl was found with HIV positive in Uttar Pradesh, Etah, when the doctors at a medical college used the same syringe on several patients. I mean, that is basic stuff. That is so basic. I mean, that if it was, a little Indian village somewhere, and they only had one syringe, then it'd still be unforgivable, but you kind of get it. But this is a medical college where they've done this. I mean, come on. Don't even have the bubbles in the bath since the movie Jaws. Want to see the bottom? No, you're alright. I'll pass on seeing the bottom, thank you. Unless it's the frog's bottom, which we've just seen. China sets economic growth and target at 5% for 2023 as Parliament opens. Thing is, if things go the way I think they're going to get sanctions against them, and that's not going to happen. Joe Biden expected to tighten rules in US investment in China, literally what I've just said. Party of Estonian PM, strong Ukraine backer, gains a big win. So there was election in Estonia, and a pro-Ukraine party has been sworn in. Nice food looks like. Ashram flyover reopens today. Delhi police issues traffic advisory. Now remember the traffic advisory that they issued when they were closing this motorway, freeway, over ramp thing, and we'd already seen the chaos in on Delhi's road. It was very scary. So the police now offering advisories because the road's reopened. Well, surely the advisory would be use this road. It's reopened now. China sets economic growth to 5% and hikes inflation to 7.2. Tesla plans to halve assembly costs in future generations of cars, but affordable car is still a no-show. Tesla, I kind of admire what they've done, but electric is not the future to save the planet, because in order to have every car electric, every bus electric, every lorry electric, every ship electric, you're going to have to dig up so much precious metals from the planet, ship them around the world to make the batteries, get chemicals to make their batteries active, put them in the vehicles, whatever they are, and then when the battery's life runs out, what do you do with them then? I mean, we're not even supposed to put AA batteries in the bin. I know everyone does. You're meant to put them in those little box of things that they have at supermarkets, but, well, people obviously do that because they're always full. But majority of people don't do that. So you can imagine car batteries, lorry batteries, bus batteries. It's an absolute joke that people think that the way forward to save the planet is electric vehicles. It's not. It's green hydrogen. What we need to do is make a lot of green hydrogen. The more green hydrogen we make, the cheaper it becomes. The cheaper it becomes, the more we make, the more it's used. The cheaper it becomes, the more we make, the more we use. It's not rocket science. We've already got the petrol stations around that could store liquid hydrogen in them with a bit of a tweak. We don't have to dig up all the roads, we don't have to put down miles and miles of cables, we don't have to build individual hubs with metal and plastics and other precious metals in there, screens and all that kind of crap. Electric, not the future. It never has been. I've never said it was the future. I think it is a mistake. Hopefully someone somewhere will figure it out who can actually do something about it. 7 children die due to respiratory infections in West Bengal in 24 hours. 7 children have died due to a respiratory infection in West Bengal in the last 24 hours, a senior health official said on Thursday. The problem is hydrogen cars are fast. Well, they are, they blow up. Just get a car. Yaris have never missed a beat. 13 quid a year tax and the car costs £2,000. Yeah. I get where you're coming from, Paul, but what I'm saying is electric cars are not the future. That's all I'm saying. And if hydrogen cars are fast, look at Teslas. I mean, the torque on them things. I was I was doing one of my no, it wasn't live streaming because I had someone with me in the car, and I never live stream. I've got someone with me in the car, and we're on these country lanes. We've got a Tesla in front of us, and we're in a line of traffic, and then the Tesla just kind of drops back and back and back, and the line of traffic ahead just disappears, and I'm like getting a bit impatient. Come on, you've got a Tesla. What's your battery running out or whatever? You know, blah blah blah. Like you do. Can't overtake it because it's roads, and I don't know the roads that well, so it'd be dangerous to overtake. So I'm not overtaking them. I'm stuck behind them, and then they put the foot on the accelerator, and boom, gone. And I'm like, what the hell was that? I've never seen a car go from 30 mile an hour to disappear as quick in my life. So electric cars have got a lot of torque as well, but you can tone down the speed of cars. You can put restrictors on them so that they do go slower. I mean, I've never seen the point of buying a, I'll never have the money to do it, but like a £5 million Ferrari. What's the point when you can only do 70 mile an hour on a motorway, and you won't want to take it to a track day because you won't want to bend it. Aren't fast. Oh, okay then. Yeah, but with technology, they will get faster. Look at electric cars. Look at the amount of stick that Top Gear, when it was the three amigos, Richard, James and Jeremy, they ripped into electric cars. They even built that crap one that nearly ripped Richard Emmons' head off because he had him in that little window thing. Electric cars were slow. Now look at them. What you've got to do is you've got to get to the stage where there's a car company developing cars, which I think Toyota is doing. They are developing hydrogen cars, and the more they develop, the faster they'll go. Maybe make Formula One into hydrogen cars, because electric doesn't work. If you watch the E-Prix, my God, they're boring. They do about 20 laps. They sound like crap, and they very rarely overtake. And when they do overtake, they usually crash. It's just the dullest thing in the world. Not as dull as that off-road thing that what's it called? Lewis Hamilton and his mate, the German guy, they're involved in. I mean, that's really dull. The last race has got two cars in it, and if one car gets away, that's it. Toyota, as the Mare out here in California, the problem is there's only like 15 stations in all of LA. Yeah, it's early days. People who had electric cars 10 years ago couldn't go to a supermarket and plug it in. You'd have to plug it in at home, or you'd have to go to somewhere specific. You'd have to make a special journey to go somewhere to plug it in. But now you can go to pretty much any supermarket and plug in, and even McDonald's. Most McDonald's seem to have these charging points now, and petrol stations are incorporating them. So yeah, it's going to be the same with hydrogen. It will. The more hydrogen cars that are there, the more demand there is. The more the petrol companies will think, well, hang on a minute, why are we selling hydrogen to people? And they'll start supplying it, and that's what happens. That's how the demand goes. But you've got to start somewhere. But we need to start now, because electricity is not the way forward by any stretch of any imagination, ever, anywhere, ever. I finished that now, thank you. Unforgivable. Iran's Hanami condemns schoolgirls poisoning and assures death penalty to guilty. There's been a lot of kerfuffle in Iran, as a lot of schools have had noxious chemicals put into the air conditioning, which has gone into the classes and made a lot of, only in girls' schools, a lot of girls very, very ill indeed, and it's all over the country. So the leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, is saying that he will, if they find out who it is, they will get the death penalty. Tortures, yeah, we've done that one. So yeah, it's shocking how women are treated around the world. It really is. It really is, in some countries in particular. Biden to get new powers to ban TikTok and other China-owned apps posing a security risk. Now, TikTok poses a security risk or not, but like I said last week, we were talking about, well, I was talking about this, and you were listening, that when you get an app on your phone, if you don't read the small print, you don't know what you go, yes, all blah, 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 and basically, if you read it, it's accessing your texts, it can access your emails, it can access your photographs, all your photographs on your phone, it can access what websites you go to, and it can give you advertising that suits what you're into. And the example I gave last week was the fact that my boxer shorts, I found the invoice actually from boxer shorts. I've had them for like 15 years, so they're a bit tatty now. So I went to all the shops around about looking for them. I'm like, what the price of boxer shorts these days? So I went on Amazon and I typed in boxer shorts, and it came up with loads of pictures of boxer shorts and all that kind of thing. As it happened, I didn't buy any from Amazon. I ended up buying them from Matalan. But I typed that in, and then instantly Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all that kind of thing was putting up pictures of lads in boxer shorts. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. No, this is not what I asked for. I asked for boxer shorts because I wanted to buy boxer shorts, not because I wanted to see fit models with bodies that you could die for in them. Not interested in that kind of thing, thank you very much. All I'm interested in is the price of the boxer shorts. This went on for about 6 weeks. Every time I went on, some bloke in boxer shorts or whatever. I'm like, no, stop it now. But it does. All these things look at what you look at and what you read and what you type to your friends and what you type in your emails and what you take pictures of. If it's recognisable, like if I take a picture of Mario, for example, you'll think, oh, Mario. Or if I take a picture outside the Lego shop, because that's my go-to thing at the moment, is making Lego, it really calms my brain down a lot. So that's why I'm doing it at the moment. But, it's oh, he's into Lego, so I get loads of Lego stuff coming up. And to be fair, since I've started doing the Lego videos, I am getting a lot more Lego stuff coming up and less boxer shorts stuff. So it's a kind of a win. There's always going to press the boxer shorts if you're known an international playboy. Well, yeah, what can I say? Body of a god. I mean, it's Buddha, but it's still a god. No offence meant, other gods are available. Loud music at weddings increases the risk of a heart attack. Does have a question mark after it. Study reveals the link. Long-term exposure to loud music has been linked to greater risk of heart attack and diseases. People prone to heart disease should be aware that chronic noise exposure where they live may raise their risk. I'm like, I don't understand, unless they're getting stressed out by the music. But I can't imagine if you listen to it, I mean, it give you tinnitus and make you deaf. But I can't understand how it could give you a heart attack. I mean, I went to Download in 2007. The only gig I've ever been to in my entire life, and it was Download for a weekend with my daughter, who was then 15. And fantastic weekend. But got always near the stage, and you could feel the music. You could hear it, obviously, but you could feel it on your body and on your chest. A bit like if you go to, I dare say, I don't do nightclubs. You go to a nightclub, or if you go to a wedding and you've got the big speakers there and you stood next to them, you can feel the sound, because what sound is moving air. That's why you can't hear anything in a vacuum, because there's no air. Sound isn't a physical thing; it's just the movement of air. My vocal cords vibrate. That vibration comes out and carries on around me, and then it's picked up and then converted back into sound that you hear. I don't know. I mean, it's amazing how it works, but yeah. Just saying, I do ignore it. That's why it's going away. The boxer short things, but it says Lego now. 16-year-old girl shot in shoulder by friend over arguments in northeast Delhi. Police reached the spot in Sunbrash Park and found that the girl had been shot by her friend. She was shifted to the GTB hospital by her family members. But yeah, very rare that we get something like that in India. In fact, I think that's the first one we've done, and we've been doing India for quite a while now. 2 killed, 16 injured as train derails in northern Egypt. At least 2 people were killed and 16 others were injured after a passenger train derailed in the north of Cairo, Egypt's capital. Absolutely tragic, horrendous. You get on a train thinking you're going to go somewhere, and yeah, it doesn't matter thinking about it. H3N2 influenza hits India, mass in crowded places and proper hygiene. The former top doctor, Dr. Randeep Gulera, said the influenza virus spreads like COVID through droplets. He's also advised elderly people, especially those having comorbidities, to take precautions. I went to an air show in the 1980s before health and the other guy safety. Felt the planes through the floor. Yeah. I went to an air show in it'd be early 70s. I was only a small child, but I remember going, and Concorde flew past. Concorde wasn't in service; it was still a brand new plane, and it flew past really low and really slow, and kind of up like that, so it could go slow. But it also meant that the jets were hitting the ground, and you could literally. That's what the only thing I remember about the whole day, apart from the argument that my mum's boyfriend had with another car driver while we're trying to escape. I say escape, get out after the show had finished. But yeah, the ground vibrating, because I was only little. I was kind of, I was kind of kind of thing. It wasn't a pleasant thing. It's all right, Angela. Don't worry about it. Won't hold it against you. Can't believe that. I can't believe she was on the phone. Can you believe that? On the phone? Unbelievable. No, it's fine, Angela. HelloFresh drops Thai coconut milk after PETA probe on monkey labour. And you're like, monkey labour? The meat kit provider HelloFresh has said it will no longer sell coconut milk sourced from Thailand after campaigning by PETA that accused coconut farms in the country of using monkey labour. What the hell is monkey labour? I mean, is that a term used for when you really treat people badly, and you pay them nothing, you make them live in in a plastic bag, or is it actually using physical monkeys to go and get the coconuts? And would the monkeys necessarily consider that labour, or would they consider that a game? Because the same argument would be, well, we can't have sniffer dogs anymore. You can't have guide dogs anymore. I know they're not called that anymore, but it's the only thing that's coming to my head. Because you're abusing that dog. That poor dog could be living a life somewhere, and instead it's looking after this one person, and it's getting stuff out of the fridge, and it's taking them for walks all the time and taking them to different places. Now, where does it stop? I mean, seriously. Okay, the monkeys are being mistreated, then that's different. But if it's just a monkey climbing a tree and getting a coconut, and then getting a couple of peanuts for it, then literally, then I don't see the problem. Anyway, that was India. So now we've come to our and finally bit. I've worked at Tesco for the last year, and I ate that term. Just say employee. Oh yeah. What is it? They call you colleagues. I worked at Asda for a couple of years on nights, and everyone was a colleague, and I'm like, no, they're not. A colleague is someone who you have affinity to. Most of the people I work with I didn't like. I never had anything to do with them outside work. In fact, I had nothing to do with any of them outside work, and I did like some of them. So anyway, this is the and finally, and again, not so many this week, again because of what I've been doing today with my Wigan Watch videos. Putin's troops forced to fight with shovels as Russia faces ammo shortage. But China will step in, no doubt, and sort their ammo issues out. But yeah, you can't have your sons, husbands, brothers being sent to a war, and then they have to use their little spades that they use to dig trenches. It's like World War One. If you've ever played Battlefield 1, I mean, literally, there was a weapon that was a shovel, and we seem to have gone back over 100 years to World War One. I mean, Putin, absolute arsehole, to be honest. But the stuff he's putting his people through, and yet you still get people. Well, when they're interviewed on the by Western news channels in Russia, they near enough always toe the Russian line. But you're wondering, is that because they've been brainwashed that much into it that that's what they believe? They genuinely believe that, or is it because if they say anything different, then their son, daughter, grandson could be shipped off to war in Ukraine. They could end up in prison. They could have the KGB knocking the doors down and that kind of thing. You've got to take it cautiously. I don't normally do sport, but let's be honest. Liverpool thrashed Manchester United 7-0 in a historic defeat. It's not often you get scorelines like that. It's a shame it didn't happen today, isn't it? because of the ongoing mess that's going on with Match of the Day and all that. Last month, my cat disappeared. A week ago, I found him and brought him home. Today, my cat came back. Now I have 2 identical cats. I mean, even if it's not true, even if it's made up, that is a brilliant story. Really, really good. It's like, dull. I wonder why the first cat was not looking good at me. If Carlsberg did job adverts, best job ad ever. We are looking for a graphic designer. It is. That is genius. It really is genius. As is this. Nicolas Cage said he doesn't need to be in the Marvel comic universe because I'm Nick Cage. Fair dues. You can't argue with that, can you? He's Nick Cage. And then look at this Paddington bear. And then look more closely. Someone dressed a Pomeranian dog up as Paddington bear, and now the world seems a slightly better place to be in. Certainly better than it did. Is that not one of the cutest things you've ever seen in your life? At first, when I first saw the picture, I just thought it was a stuffed Paddington bear, I'll be honest. And then when I looked at it again, because I only glanced at it, when I looked at it again, I'm like, well, hang on a minute. And then I read the thing, and I looked at it again, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. That is a little tiny dog dressed as Paddington bear. It's brilliant. Absolute genius. And finally, women in Berlin will soon be allowed to go topless at the city's public swimming pools like the men, the Berlin state government said on Thursday. I got some C64 magazines you can have when your shop opens for your magazine reviews. Amiga ones as well. Not going to give you my Transformer ones away though. No worries, Paul. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's Berlin to let everyone go topless at public swimming baths. I mean, to be fair, in Europe, I've never been, but you know, you go to Spain or whatever, a lot of women are topless, and I've often, particularly when I was younger, and I could never figure out why men's chests were allowed to be shown, whereas women's chests weren't, because you know, basically we've all got nipples, and we all, you know, I've got man boobs now, so you know, I need a bra, but yeah, it just seems logical. But then it also seems weird as well. You know, would you go to a public baths where women are swimming with no tops on? I don't know. I don't know whether I would or not. I mean, I keep saying I need to go to the swimming baths, but I don't want to go on my own because you just look like a weirdo, don't you, if you go on your own? But then you're like a weirdo if you ask someone to go with you. So I'll probably never go to the baths again, but I think it's good exercise to go into the baths. But yeah, it's definitely weird. Definitely a weird thing. Anyway. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a week that was this week. And bearing in mind, I was more than a little bit intoxicated this afternoon after filming what a week that was. I think I've actually done quite well. And I've done a lot of talking today. My voice is going, as you can probably hear as well. And we've done 2 hours and 18 minutes. So let's look at the stats. We've had 36 views, which it's gone down since we're doing it on Saturday, but I expected that, I'll be honest with you. But the average view duration is 15 minutes, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for that. Peak was 8 people twice. Well, it's kind of petered off now a little bit, but it generally does when I get to the end. So yeah, brilliant. Give a big shout out to everyone who's contributed in the chat room. So Angela O'Kane, Ben, Ben, Angela, Ben, Marty Hopkirk. There's definitely someone else as well, isn't there? Yeah, Stuart Weir, Jay Morris, 23, Paul, 1872, Matt Francis, and Angela come back. So yeah, that is it for this What a Week That Was. So thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are. Don't forget it's available as a podcast. If you go to one of the previous What a Week That Was, in the What a Week That Was playlist, you'll get a link in the descriptions to said podcasts, so you can enjoy them without the trauma of looking at my face and body whilst I do it. So yeah, thank you very much. I am going to get something to eat now, and I'm going to sort this video out because I can delete a load of stuff off my phone now and hopefully make enough room for it to be saved. Otherwise I'm going to have to split it into two. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. T, if you're on, thanks a lot. Look after yourselves. And also, I don't think he will be, but if LM is on, big hello to you as well. And thank you very much. It was fun, and I will see you again next time. Until then, thank you for watching. Bye.